Last year, I think we all know, was the 50th anniversary of the War on Poverty, and 50 years later and $20 trillion later, unfortunately, still 15% of our fellow Americans remain at the poverty level. So it's hard to judge the war on poverty as a success, and perhaps the bigger failure is not to live up to President Johnson's goal, I quote, not only to relieve the symptom of poverty, but to cure it, and above all, to prevent it. Now, arguably, one of the most important weapons in the war on poverty has been HUD, with its many programs and its many employees. And this year is the 50th anniversary of HUD. So I wish to announce to all members that this committee will take an extensive review and thorough examination of the successes and failures of HUD, and not just measure the inputs, but measure the outputs as well, and most importantly, again, to paraphrase President Johnson, to find out how these programs can be designed to lift people from lives of poverty, lives of government dependency, and lift them to the dignity of work and self-sufficiency. And I look forward to working with you, Mr. Secretary, on this examination and exploring various avenues where we can work together. Now, to today's hearing, this is the second part examining what appears to many to be an administration's taxpayer-funded race to the bottom to become the nation's largest subprime lender. Whether FHA or FHFA wins that contest, I know that the marginal home buyer on the bubble and the poor beleaguered taxpayer, they will certainly be the big losers in this race. We all recall the famous admonition from Spanish philosopher Santayana, who said, quote, "Those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it." History has taught us that the root cause of the financial crisis was not deregulation, but dumb regulation in helping put people into homes they could not afford to keep. And now the FHA, with exceedingly low down payments and a recently announced approximately 40% cut in its premiums, appears to be doing that. All at a time where the FHA continues to violate federal law by keeping a woefully insufficient capital reserve, and right after receiving its first ever taxpayer bailout. This cannot be allowed to stand. Now, with respect to subprime lending, what consenting adults do with their money is their business, but what FHA does with taxpayer money is our business. And do we really want the federal government to be leading the charge into subprime lending? We've all heard from our constituents. I heard from a gentleman named Walter in Mesquite, quote, "I am one of those that got a house I never should have gotten. I could not afford to buy a home, but no one told me that. Now I'm behind and underwater on a house I never should have bought." Again, the administration should not be leading the way, putting people like Walter into homes they cannot afford to keep. We need a sustainable housing policy, sustainable for homeowners, sustainable for taxpayers, sustainable for our economy. The best program of affordable housing is a growing and healthy economy built from Main Street up, not built from Washington down. I now yield 3 minutes to the ranking member.